If your gut is burning or your feet is burning, the conflict you are looking for is a brutal, some sort of separating from somebody, usually it's with another person, and there's feelings of guilt and there's feelings of I'm mean if I do this. Take that and find what occurred instead of trying to fit in, oh, this must be because my mom did this. Move all that aside. If it was what you think it is, you probably would have resolved it now. It is that thing you're not looking at, that thing that is too painful to remember. It could be something. So, one woman, I remember this wasn't my own client, but one of my teachers said this. One woman had started having symptoms because, so this is why he gave the reason. Don't think of your story to fit it in. Look at the conflict and sit with the conflict to find out what event occurred like this. So in her case, her husband had fallen off. She had, I think it was the numbing. She had experienced, her husband had fallen off the roof. And so, of course, if you knew that from before, you're like, oh, of course, the numbing is because of that. It's probably very painful to watch your husband like that. But no, my mentor said, I don't want to know the story. I want to know what happened during that time that just felt like a total tear, very unexpected, that just like changed things for you. And she thinks about it and she's like, when I went to see him at the hospital, and we don't know if he's going to live or going to die, I asked him for all the passwords and asked him, where is everything? Because if you die, I have to raise the kids alone. So she wanted to know where's the passwords, what banks do they have? And he wouldn't tell her.
But
That was her
okay,
shock.
I was I had the experience yesterday. I don't talk to my mother at all, so that's what made me think of it. It happened again yesterday, but now I really can't move. But back then, I had been torn from my life.
Yes. But again, is it
Is
need
that
so yes, this is what we're
that's
going to look at right now.
what is the conflict? I don't know what you're talking
What's the symptom? I don't want the story. What's the symptom?
about. What I told you, burning in the feet and the chest.
Okay, so burning is about being torn away, but it has to be with an element of guilt, a guilt, a
I
feeling mean.
No, I don't have it. I have nothing about guilt there for me personally.
Sit with it. There's
Nothing.
something.
But
So,
I have anger about being torn from my life and being trapped, but nothing about guilt. I'm not guilty there.
so are you experiencing the pain on your feet still?
I had yesterday. I got it. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, so
I
that
had
was
this
so
experience yesterday
what
when something
time
happened.
yesterday? What time yesterday did you have the experience of the feet
What do you
burning?
mean? What time or what was
Yeah,
happening?
what time of the day? What time of the day did you have that burning in the feet? Was it in the
I don't know.
morning?
Like
Was it in the
evening,
afternoon? It was in the
evening.
evening. Okay.
But it
Was it
happened.
before dinner, after dinner?
It was before dinner.
Okay, so it's before dinner in the evening.
But but I wasn't alone.
Okay, so it was before dinner in the evening. You weren't alone
Somebody did something that upset me. Yes.
at that moment,
Yes.
and your feet started hurting, started burning.
Get burning, and then my stomach started burning, and then yeah. Hmm.
Exactly. So there's something that happened there. So I'll give you an example of what might be. Again, it needs to coincide. If your feet burn on Mondays, Tuesdays, and spring, the burning needs to coincide in all the stories. So often
Mm.
here, what'll happen is the other person says something that'll upset you, and you didn't say something back because you felt guilty of hurting them if I say something. But not saying
Mm,
something hurt you.
mm, I said something back, and it didn't make any difference. I said stop, and they don't stop, and they don't listen. It doesn't make any difference. So
So
it's
the
I'm not,
Talking
I don't,
didn't make difference.
yeah, it's telling them to stop or don't do something.
Yes,
It
because
just made it
how
worse
did you feel it was hurting you?
because it was actually hurting me.
Because it was hurting you. How? Because it's hurting you specifically. Someone else,
We had
person
like
might not get hurt.
they moved my body in a way that was very painful, and you know, I couldn't breathe. Like it was
Yeah,
physically
perfect.
hurtful.
So your body is warning what's happening right now is hurting you. That's what it's doing.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it was doing. It was saying what you're doing right now is hurting you. And because
Well,
what you
mhm.
did wasn't enough, your body is keeping it really loud so that you find another way of stopping. So let's continue. Let's look at what we've got. So this is an example. Again, here, what I want to do with these 4 weeks is for you guys to begin to read, to begin to become Sherlock. When I do this in a session, we might take 90 minutes. So Eileen, your thing, I might take 90
It's
minutes to get,
Helene. It's an H.
sorry,
H.
Elaine, I might take 90 minutes working with you to find the exact flavor that's happening today and happened the first time to really get the sense of it. It's like I had feet burning, and I'll talk about this today, but I had feet burning for 2 years. And it wasn't, I was actually a demo in a session, in a class, and then I did another session with the teacher. And it wasn't until like a week after that second session, I'm in the shower and I'm like, oh my gosh, I know exactly the flavor of this conflict, right? And once I knew it, it was so evident. I could see it happening. And once you get that, that's where the juice is. I was able to make changes and play with it and shorten it and, go, oh, here I do it again and walk out of it and just notice my feet just turn off, you know. That's where you want to get to. But it isn't something, sometimes it does, but it isn't something, especially if it's been there for a while, that you become conscious of immediately, right? So that's why you want to read it. You want to become Sherlock into it. So a few more questions, make sure I got them. Okay, why do they never go away? We're going to look at that right now. Uh, have tremors. Yep. So the tremors at the end of the day is usually because by the end of the day, um, the body is like, ah. It can also happen. So nystagmus is the same with the tremors. Um, the body's like going immediately in and out, in and out, in and out. Oh my gosh, especially like your neck has to do with intellect and has to do with humiliation, right? Nystagmus has to do with what you're looking at. So if it's like going in and out, in and out, in and out, you are going into conflict, healing conflict. It's like, oh my gosh, am I going to be humiliated? No, I am. No, I am. Oh, I am. No. Am I going to see something I don't want to see? No, I'm fine. No, I'm fine. No, I'm fine. And then it settles, right? The body's almost like, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And that's what we're going to look at. Can the epicrisis last a while? Leg weakness. So the epicrisis of a leg drop, like a sudden, like you drop on the floor, that's the epicrisis, right? That's a second. Leg weakness tends to be that paralysis. The nerves are unplugging, and that's my clumsiness, right? Unplugging because it doesn't feel safe to take action. If I do this, this is going to happen. But if I don't do this, this is going to happen, right? And I'll have it. How do we prevent that collapse? Start writing down. What was I just relieved about? What's the story I'm telling in my head? What's my perception? Oh my gosh, like this guy in politics, right? Oh my gosh, if I make a fool of myself, I'll never be able to be president. If you're giving yourself that level of stress, yeah, it's a big self-devaluation. You're going to have a major collapse, right? Like Agota said, it's like you have to save someone from a car. Yeah, you're gonna think, but it's like making dinner should not feel like saving someone from a car that fell on them. You want to downgrade that pressures. I'm confused all around. I don't blame you. Um, I have so many symptoms, I can't figure out where and what to start. Symptoms are never clear, always there. When there's a lot of symptoms, start with the first ones. Start with the ones before diagnosis. Diagnosis is going to give you a lot of symptoms. The fear after you know what this is called is going to make everything worse. So start with the first ones. And don't start with the one that's most important. Um, you put too much pressure on yourself. Start with one that's like, oh, if I get it, great. If I don't, great. Because removing that pressure is going to make it a lot easier to figure out, you know, the pattern and make the change. The fatigue one is actually a pretty easy one because it's like, okay, where am I overdoing it and going in the wrong direction and thinking, oh, I can do it all. Body's like, "Ah." Okay. Neuralgia, like, face neuralgia. Neuralgia is the periosteum. It's conflict active. Where is that separation mixed with guilt, right? And it can last as long as you still have that separation mixed with guilt. There's actually so Kelly, no, Freya Kellett has a podcast, and it's called German New Medicine Stories. One of the podcasts is actually someone resolving her trigeminal neuralgia. So it's a great way to see the whole thing step by step and how she broke it down and figured out what it was about. Okay. 28 years ago, don't remember the symptoms. Movement issues started 6 or 7 years ago. Mm. That's another one that happens. Oftentimes, the symptoms that got you diagnosed are gone. They're resolved. You don't even have that anymore. You haven't had double vision for 20 years. You haven't had numbing for 10 years. You now have issues with movement. Those tend to have to do more with the diagnosis and the fear, right? And something is going on, your body might lock. Again, I can have a motor conflict, right? I can have that occur to me, and have never been formally diagnosed. But if you have that lock and you have this pending doom called the MS diagnosis, it's going to make it all worse. The neuro said secondary progressive and nothing leave once it shows up. My oldest client was 84 years old. She was in a scooter, and yes, she did not, become a dancer, but she got up more, she was cooking more, and when she did physical therapy, instead of having three people bend her leg because it was so stiff, she had one person help her out. So there's a lot. The body doesn't want to stay like this. If it feels safe, it will go towards homeostasis in whatever way is possible. So I wanted to show you first what's going on now. And you guys might have already intuited this. Remember, we saw this was our normal program. We go into conflict, we resolve it, we have a breakdown, we have a healing crisis where everything flushes, and then we have healing phase B, which we're just getting better and better, and we go back to homeostasis. Oops. But we're looking at something like this, aren't we? We go into conflict, we find resolution, we get a bit of inflammation. We all of a sudden have epic crisis, that healing crisis symptom like spasms, and we're like, oh my gosh, this is a new symptom. And we freak out and we go into conflict active again because we think, oh my gosh, now I'm really going to get stuck in a wheelchair, blah, 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 blah. And we activate ourselves again. And then we start healing and then we activate ourselves again. Or we stay in that adaptation and maybe it downgrades a bit, but we continue to beat ourselves up and continue to doubt ourselves all the time. And then we have moments of exacerbation and then we just continue and continue. Or this happens often. It's like, yeah, we had the conflict, we resolved it, we went through everything. This is sleep time, this is wake time. I'm stressed. What are people going to think? I'm going to get stuck. I have to push. You go to bed, the body goes, oh. I've had a lot of clients say, bed is my safe space. Yeah. Well, if it's your safe space, your body goes into healing, right? So when you're in your safe space, your body goes into healing. You go into the epicrisis, you're all good. Next day, you wake up and start thinking about, oh my God, I got to do this and I got to do that. Am I going to? How's the symptoms going to be? Is it going to work? And back into conflict. And then the next night, back in bed, my safe place, nothing I need to do for the next 9 hours, back into healing. And the next day it starts up again, right? Or you go into conflict active, you resolve, you have inflammation. Oh my gosh, I'm in inflammation. You're trying to release the inflammation. You're just like teetering. And so your body never gets the full chance of completing, right? It's like stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. It's almost like you cut your little hand, it goes into inflammation, a scab is formed, and you keep picking the scab. What happens, right? Or my dad, when he had a surgery, you know, he kept sterilizing the zone and removing every single inflammation. He left it like, spot clean, and his body didn't have any nutrients in the area to finish the healing. So I wanted to show you how in nature a full program from start to finish looks like before we get into how us humans get in our own ways. All of us, not just those formerly diagnosed with MS. So let me share. We're going to look at a motor conflict. Can someone tell me the stages of a motor conflict? What is a motor conflict? And what are the phases?
You're stuck.
You're getting stuck.
Yep, something occurred and you're stuck. You can. If you try here, won't happen. And if you try here, you lose too, right? What are the phases? What's the symptoms during conflict active?
Paralysis,
Yep, some sort of paralysis, semi-paralysis, or
stumbling,
clumsiness. Yep, what happens as you start healing?
it gets increased.
It actually gets increased because of the inflammation, which makes like everything really tight. And then you're like, oh my gosh, it's even worse, right? And then what occurs in the healing crisis?
Panic, panic, cramping.
Tonic-clonic clamping. Yep. And then you get better, better, better. Correct? You're
Yes.
gonna love this. I promise no one dies here. Okay? The animals aren't dying. Can you see my video? YouTube. Okay. What phase is this impala? What is it? He's in conflict active. He's totally frozen. Here comes a hyena. Wants that impala too. Totally frozen, paralyzed, dead, right? It's like weakness, total weakness. That impala's not doing anything. Every muscle of that body is frozen. He cannot move. The tiger has left. The leopard has left. He's not getting up. What the hell? It's the first phase of healing. Everything is kind of swollen up, but he can't move yet. But now look, wait, things are starting to move. Wait, starting to breathe. Leopard is gone. He's looking, for the hyena. And now we're going to get into our little epi crisis. What is the healing crisis? Tonic-clonic cramping or seizures or spasms. Let's wait. Let's see. Look at that. Phase A. There it is. There's the epicrisis. There is his body is plugging in all the muscles again. In your case, it might be one toe, might be one hand. I had it on my back for a while. Phase B, he's done. He's out of there. That is the full, sorry. That is a full program of the motor conflict from start to finish. Freezing, resolution, still frozen. Everything is stiff. He can't move even if he wanted to. He knows he's got to get out of there, but he can't move right now. Then all the muscles get plugged in, spasms like crazy. Phase B, he starts kind of slow, and then he's off and running. Now, question to you guys. Is that Impala ever going to go down that same, let's say, area where the leopard's den is? Hell no. Now, let me ask you humans. Do we go back to that impossible job?
Yes.
Do we continue to work for our toxic boss? Yeah, because we got to work. We got to make a living, you know? Do we keep calling our moms every day, even though every time we call, we feel miserable and every cell in our body is saying no? Yeah, because you're supposed to love your mom, you know, you can't leave her. She's getting older, right? It's like being a domestic violent. It is. And you're telling yourself, I'm fine, I'm strong enough, I can push through. It can be something minor. It doesn't have to be this big thing, but it's there. And we keep going back to it or thinking, I can do this. It's fine. I can do this. It's fine. And your body's like, "Oh, the last time you said I can do this is fine. We had to deal with a terrible boss, a terrible job, and no one was training me, and I was trapped." Right? That's one of the differences is that us humans have what's called social pressure. The majority of the symptoms formally diagnosed as MS, which is all the nervous system, which is this area, the cerebral cortex, is the area of the brain that was last developed. This area has everything to do with relationships. Someone asked me about constipation. Constipation and, pooping is primal, primitive. That has everything to do with what you take in and what you let go, what you feed yourself. It's very primitive, but the main symptoms of MS, these in the cerebral cortex, the motor, the periosteum, the sensory, these are all about social. These are all our concerns. If they're not going to like me, they're going to shun me, they're going to hate me, they're going, I'm going to be ostracized, I'm going to be abandoned, I'm not going to get my social needs met. So the reason why these symptoms continue, even if you finally start understanding the conflict, and usually once you understand what the conflict is and really understand it, because as I said, it's usually not that loud thing. I had one of my clients was like, yeah, at work it was terrible. I know it's probably my boss and it, da da da. No, during that time, something occurred with your son. That was the start, not this stuff. You've talked about this ad hoc. It was this thing you haven't shared with anyone. You remember conflict shock, one of its, main traits is you've experienced it alone. And one reason it stays is because you're not showing that to anyone. All right. So one of the reasons it stays is because we keep doing the same things. We keep feeling the same. Kristen?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you for clarification. I don't know if it's a little different, but now, like, I feel like I'm very uneasy on my walking. My walking's tough for different reasons, but I've fallen a lot. And, I'm not sure if I've resolved all the conflicts that's involved, but now I have this fear of my body has this fear of falling, being off balance. And I don't know if that's contributing to me not being able to get to the true healing and resolution, because now I have this other fear.
That's another piece, right? Fear means danger. Danger. The body doesn't know that you're worrying about falling. The body just knows, there's something that feels like imminent danger, and so it's going to respond. It's going to, try to keep you safe. If you have a very low grade paralysis, if you've downgraded it, you're going to be clumsier, you know. So I always say, as you're healing, don't give yourself more stress, like, I'm not going to use a walker because I'm doing better. Use what you need so that you feel super safe to move around. It's not going to make the healing slower. It's actually the opposite. If you give yourself a safe environment, your body's not going to get triggered. It's going to go, we don't know what's going on, but it seems to be fine. So let's keep going with our program, right? Instead of, we don't know what's going on, but there's an imminent danger of falling and death and da da da. So we're just going to lock you up, motor lock, to keep you safe.
Sorry to interrupt. I
Yeah.
feel like there's this pressure always coming from the medical field that if you're not constantly pushing yourself, then you're going to fall behind or you're like use it or lose it with your abilities. And what you're saying kind of sounds like the goal is really to keep yourself safe and to let your brain know that you're safe, no matter how
Yes.
much you push yourself. So it's almost like over pushing yourself can like backfire almost.
Yes. Yes, it can. It can. Um, what they don't want to do is that you end up, at home in bed and you don't want to do anything. Because then it's like you don't even want to get up, right? But it's very different to create an environment where it feels safe to get up than to push yourself into an environment that doesn't feel safe to get up, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. Pushing, I always say no. The word is pause, right? If that person who, when he gets to the sidewalk, if he pushes himself forward, his legs are definitely going to lock. If he actually pauses, just says, I will cross this street when I'm ready. And he just looks and looks for the cars and go, I'll wait a minute more. All right, there's no cars now. I'm gonna go. Well, maybe I'm waiting. Yeah, okay, fine, I'll go. Body's just like, we don't know what's going on, but he seems to be fine. And so he just, you know, struts across the street because that fear isn't there. And the fear is this that the next component. One is we keep doing the same thing, right? His original conflict shock was actually in an accident on the street, tripping on a sidewalk. That's why now his body is really sensitive to taking a decision to cross. And so it's really connected. But the second reason why symptoms remain is that fear. We fear what's going to happen. We don't trust the body. So I wanted to read you guys a little story. It's a very famous story in the field of psychoneuroimmunology, which I love this field because it studies the psycho, the neurons, and the immune system, right? What are we doing? What is MS, right? All three. So in psychoneuroimmunology, there's this study of how the fear can take a seemingly benign cold and make it into almost life-threatening. So I'm going to read it to you. I'm actually going to put it on also for those who prefer reading than listening. Okay, so the story goes, Alan is a 35-year-old gentleman who returned to the UK in November of 2001 from a placement with an international medical aid agency in Nigeria. He caught a chill after 2 weeks in Britain and suffered a fever, sore throat, and general malaise. He was convinced he must be HIV positive and was extremely stressed. So this guy is thinking that he was in Nigeria. He did things and he might have brought back AIDS because this is a period when there was so much of it going on in in Africa. So he thinks that this cold is actually proof of that he has AIDS. So he finds himself, he is convinced he has it. He suffers numerous minor limited infections, which he takes as evidence that he's now developed full-blown AIDS. He found himself to be too weak to work. He even requests extension for all due reports. Gets to the point that he feels incapable of activities outside of meeting the most basic constitutional needs. I mean, eat, sleep, not much else, right? His stress level continues to rise until he develops insomnia. Hello, conflict active, 3 a.m. morning wake ups, right? Because he's so worried about it. And he loses weight. Hello, conflict active. You're so worried you don't sleep, right? After 4 months of this, he musters the courage to request an HIV test. So this guy's afraid that someone's going to find out because he's in the medical field that if he takes a test, someone's going to find out he went and took a test. And then they're going to go, oh, what were you doing in Nigeria, right? It's negative. He doesn't have it. Within 3 weeks of these perceptual changes, all the physical inabilities, the shortfalls, and the symptoms are completely resolved. Fear is the biggest contributor to the symptoms progressing, to the symptoms staying, because the body is sensing threat and it doesn't know it's only in the thoughts and the perception. That's why any positive affirmations, any meditations, any placebo treatments, anything that you're like, oh my gosh, this is going to help me, is going to help you. But of course, after a few months, when you start going, is this really going to help me? And you start getting doubts, that's when all those treatments start not working. You're like, man, it was working the first 3 months, and then it stopped because you started doubting. You start, oh my God, if this doesn't work, what am I going to do? There's no other up, and so you get yourself spiraling, and your body's like, threat, throws out what you did, because what's important is, am I safe? Am I in danger? Right? So anything, I know a lot of you guys are doing like Joe Dispenza, all of that is like great bringing up that placebo, right? Great feeling stronger. I can, I will, I have the tools. What I would say is don't stay there, right? It's like have that because that's going to empower you and figure out the conflict, right? So that 5 years from now, 1 month from now, you don't re-trigger it. All right. Another reason why it continues, and I've already alluded to this, is the symptom itself, interesting enough, causes the symptom again, right? The fact that your legs are paralyzing or semi-paralyzing or stumbling is because you feel stuck. Something happened, like the impala, and you were stuck or trapped. I want to do this, not good. I want to do this, not good. Now, because of the symptom, I can't do any of those things. I'm stuck. I'm stuck because of the symptom. And so the symptom is causing the same symptom, right? Someone with arthritis, we talked about the piano. Does arthritis help you play the piano? No, more self-devaluation. You start beating yourself up because now not only can you not play that key, now your thumbs, and so then it'll spiral. The symptoms create more of the same symptoms. Or if it's your eyes that are cloudy or your nystagmus doesn't let you see, the origin was about something you didn't want to see, and now you can't see because of the symptom causing the same symptom to get worse. And then lastly, and I've said this a few times, the diagnosis conflict, right? Being told that you have this thing that often many people didn't even know what it was until they got diagnosed. You have this thing that is a threat to your value, a threat to your abilities, a threat to your movement and freedom, is sure as hell guaranteed if going to cause you fear and going to cause you motor symptoms, freeze symptoms. I only had numbing before I was diagnosed. And after diagnosis, I ignored it until that symptom. And then I started worrying that maybe he's right. And then all of a sudden, you can't walk as well because the diagnosis is setting up that, that program of the motor conflict. That's why I said if I have a client that has the same symptoms as all of you guys, identical symptoms, but they didn't get diagnosed because of something. MRI isn't showing, or the lesions are exactly mirror, so we can't diagnose with whatever other stuff. They don't get the diagnosis. We just go symptom by symptom, figure out the conflict, figure out how they're conditioned to have that kind of issue in their lives, figure out how they trigger it every day. What is that mind role, right? And then we just work through them, work through them, work through them. And and they know, okay, when I resolve motor, I probably will have a spasm or it's tightening. It's going to probably hurt and it's fine. And it'll probably be in the middle of the night. And I should celebrate it rather than think, oh my gosh, right? Yes, I got that.
How do you remove the label, the diagnosis of MS, so we don't have to deal with those? We can only focus on the symptoms.
Um, One is figure out, what does that mean to you, right? What does that mean to you? What did you conclude? What are you imagining is going to happen? Because that's what you need to change, right? In NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, I think in the Fuck It Stress Kit, I have this one actually as one of the practices. Um, if you, every time you think about MS, you sit with it, a photo, like an image comes to you of yourself, like laying in bed, not be able to move anything but your left foot finger, right? That needs to change. That needs to change. And that's why I did a presentation on MRIs, because I wanted to show that actually only 30% of people can progress. And I'll tell you which ones progress. The ones that progress are the ones that don't look at the thing and look at everything else is at fault. I didn't do anything, or my body is trying to, it's my fault or it's someone else's fault, rather than staying curious and then working through each thing and knowing this is a collaboration and there's something for me to learn. When I have a client that comes in and they're like, because my mom and because me and because this own and they're not taking any responsibility, I'm like, okay, bye. It's not going to work. Um, and if you benefit too much from it, which some of those clients actually do, because now mom feels guilty and da da da. I think I might have mentioned this. Two of my clients healed very rapidly. One, it we just had a couple sessions, and then she was like, she stopped scheduling, and then she calls me, and she talks to me like 6 months later, and she's like, do you think I have to get off of disability because, now I can do everything? And I'm like, oh, that's where you went. I was like, she goes, yeah, well, after that last session we did, she says, I realized my body actually saved me from a situation that I couldn't get out of. And when I realized, she goes, and in that moment, it was a situation with her. She has like a famous family and they were forcing her to do something. I want to do something, but I can't. They were forcing her. And the fact that she froze, that her whole body became paralyzed, her family went and didn't touch her anymore. And she says, the fact that I had MS-A stopped me from beating myself more and pushing. And B has made me like untouchable. She goes, I would rather have MS. She goes, I was like, oh my God, yes, sign me up. I'd rather have this than the problem I had before, it came in. And she goes, Eva, the symptoms stopped. I want them back. I don't want my family to find out I don't have them anymore. That was the one who went faster, is because there was like this deep love and appreciation for the body and realization that all it was doing was trying to keep her safe. That was the fastest.
But at the same time, after hearing this, I have similar problem probably. I'm afraid that I like that too much because I get so much help from my husband now. And I don't want to do it. How can I release it?
Find a plan B. How else can you get your husband to keep doing stuff? Just tell him, oh, it could come back any moment now. Just don't believe it yourself.
But my symptoms still becoming worse. So it's not that I am so good now. It's still kind of,
Yes.
but I'm at the same time I'm trying, like with whom I'm still doing everything, but he helps me in everything. I see it,
Yeah.
but I don't know. It's kind of hard to decide where to be.
Find the plan B, right? It's like when these are not there anymore, how am I still going to be safe in my marriage and my relationship and da da da? How am I going to make sure this, probably threatening to leave him might be enough for him to go, okay, wait, I'm going to treat you well. Because you could like, I'm strong now. If you do that shit again that you did before I had MS, this time I can walk away. That might be enough for him to go, love you, love you, love you. What would you like for dinner, right? That might be enough. Find that plan B so that not having MS is not an issue. It's a good issue to have, right?
I tried once when we just started classes with you. We sat down and I said, I need just to know from you personally that whatever happens to me, if I get much better, if I kind of heal completely, you still will letting me go anywhere, like do everything what I want. And he said, yes, I will. But then I see again, every time I'm
You
gonna go out, we have a problem.
so resolve that problem. Resolve the problem with or without the MS. Resolve the problem independently.
Yeah.
You do your counseling, you do your talk to, religious figure that he believes in, to whatever, right? Some sort of consultation, something to help you feel safe. Because the
Same.
body, it's about relationships. So, all the muscle
But
on.
why does it have to be so hard? Like even this German new medicine is so hard, trying to figure out, put the pieces together. It's like
Yeah.
overwhelming. Just listening. I wanted to share this before. Since I sat down, my face started go numb as I started listening to you. And I got up and went on a break for 7 minutes. My face stopped being numb. As soon as I sat back, my face, I feel like it's numb again. And
Yes.
I know it's stress that's causing the numbness.
So what are you saying to yourself as you hear these messages, right? What is that internal conversation you're having? Like, I can't do that. I'm not, this is way too much. So this is what I wanted to give you guys as an end to end today is my story. One of my stories. Um, before so I've been working with MS since 2011 or 12, I think. 13 was when I started doing a pilot. I started doing a study. Um, and so I've been applying all sorts of things to it. Um, so I discovered German New Medicine, just a few years back, and then I was like, oh my gosh, I got to do this. Right before I discovered German New Medicine, I started having feet screaming, I would call them, radiating pain in my feet. Some people would call it plantar fasciitis, but it was incredible. My feet would scream at me right when I woke up in the morning, when I put my feet down on the floor, not before. It would scream when I wore Crocs while I was gardening, and it would scream when I was on hard floors, especially like at my fiance's family's house, all 28 people. Start giving you some guesses. And I needed to figure out what it was. I I just, I had it almost 2 years. First, I kept saying, it'll go away. It'll go away. Because I'd had something similar a couple times in my life. Almost 2 years wasn't going away. So I started studying German New Medicine. And so in one of the advanced classes, I became a demo, right, in the class. And so the teacher started working with me on it. And we had some hypotheses. We knew it was ground, so maybe it was situational, a place. It was periosteum, so there had to be some sort of separation and there had to be some sort of guilt involved, right? And I needed to find out why wearing Crocs gardening, I'm feeling guilty. Why at these dinners or big celebrations, I'm feeling guilty and something about separation. And why first thing in the morning, I'm feeling, some sort of brutal separation and feeling guilty. We did that first session, downgraded a little bit, nothing. We did another one 3 months later, just like, where are you at? What else have you seen? A little better, not much, but 2 weeks later, I'm in the shower because I'm like, what's going on? I was like, the Crocs while gardening, and in the morning. And then it hit me. What I've done, and I've done my entire life. And of course, I got to the point that I was like so out of homeostasis, and then my body came in, is I've always been raised to do things I don't want to do by compensating with a lollipop or teddy bear or something. Okay. So if I went to the dentist and was a good girl, I knew mom was coming with a teddy bear afterwards, right? There was always this, it's okay to suffer as long as you have something good. And so the one that was suffering, remember, the periosteum is you're hurting yourself or someone else. You are suffering and you feel guilty. And so what was occurring in all these areas is that I love to study and I love to research. And I'm in charge of the garden. And so I'll be studying and I'll look out the garden and I'll be like, oh my God, that garden needs to be cleaned and pulled. And I really don't want to, but I should. And so I would go out and I'm 5'2". You can't see it on Zoom. I'm 5'2", 130 pounds. And when I go out to garden, I don't just pull some reeds. I build stone walls and I plant trees and stuff. And I do this in Crocs because I'm only going to the garden for a few minutes, right? And so I would do this stuff, and I'm doing this stuff going, I really don't want to be here, but I have to do this. This is the only thing I really do around the house. And so there's this element of I feel guilty for not doing anything around the house because I'm in my office all the time. And so there was that feeling like if I don't do that, I'm hurting my partner because he does so much everything else, right? And there's guilt flavor. So there's the first one. The second one is it has to be the same flavor. When I'm at his family's house and there are 28 people, and of those 28 people, 14 are under the age of 14. Again, I actually don't want to be there, but I should be there. And I feel guilty if I say, you know what, get a ride from someone else. I'm going home. I think I'm done. We've been here for 4 hours. I can't do 6 or 8 like, my partner. It's his family. He could be there all day. But I feel guilty. And so I tell myself, I compensate. I say, Eva, you could stay 2 more hours. Cake's not out yet. I'll have 2 pieces of cake. Right? Again, I'm feeling guilty and I'm compensating. Well, I'm feeling guilty. I'm suffering and I'm compensating with the cake. And my body's saying, no, you are suffering. It's giving me pain so that I take action immediately. It's a conflict active. It's a alert, you're hurting yourself. Get out of there. And then what was happening in the morning, every morning for 2 years, is I was turning in a grant for the MS Society to try to get, work done, try to get our pilot proved. And at the same time, I was with 2 scientists writing a peer-reviewed article was going to be peer-reviewed for a major journal, the Frontiers of Neuroscience. I was overwhelmed. There was way too much going on. But what I would do every morning is in bed, I'd think about everything I have to do, and I'd find that one thing in the day, my lollipop. So I can just focus on that one thing I was going to compensate for how much I was suffering. And so the minute I put my feet on the ground, my body was saying, no, you are not going to suffer your whole freaking day because after lunch, I'm going to pass by this little store next to my office because I love all the little trinkets in there. No. And it was doing that for 2 whole years. It was telling me, do not suffer and compensate for it. Stop doing that. But once I got that flavor and I understood it, then I got to play. Once I understood that, it was like it stopped. First, I said no to Christmas Day. I did not go with the 28 people in the family. I did Christmas night. I refused to go Christmas Day. I stayed in my pajamas and I watched cartoons, and I am 54 years old. Well, then I was like 52. I stayed in my pajamas and I watched cartoons all morning Christmas, and my partner went with his 28 people in the family. I think there was even 32 that day. And I said, you tell them whatever you want. I ain't going 2 days in a row. That's when it stopped cold because I didn't play the guilt. I should go. What are they going to say? I'm going to hurt their feelings. Said, I'm not going. This is Christmas. I get to do Christmas. I'm going to do a lot of lollipops and very little suffering. Okay. It went away. And then about 18 months later, it's our 10th anniversary. My partner takes me to this area in Monterey, super sweet, but it's extremely touristy. And so we're walking around, and like after an hour, I'm done. I don't know. But I'm telling myself, no, he finally made an effort. He got the hotel. Let me see if I can get myself an ice cream. My feet started hurting. And I was like, wow, I haven't had this like 18 months. And I was like, okay, what was that thing? All right, I'm suffering and I'm trying to just compensate, because I feel guilty, and I'm trying to force myself to stay because I feel guilty if I tell him, okay, I'm done with the anniversary. Can we go home now? So I walked with pain for a little while. Okay, I'll stay another hour. And about half an hour in, I was like, and so I said, I go, hey, can we go somewhere, anywhere else? I really don't like touristy places. And we went somewhere else, and foot pain was gone. About 9 months later, we went to a party. It was somebody's, I think, 65th birthday party or something. Tons of people. I'm not a social, but better one-on-one. So we were at this party, and the party went for, well, okay, I can do the party. We're fine. Everything was good. But then the party shifted to the person's house, and everyone was just going to stand around and drink. And I don't drink. And I'm there going, what do I do? And of course, I start telling my story inside, very subconscious. Stay, Eva. He's going to be upset if you take off. You didn't even stay 2 minutes. Why don't you try a liquor? Look, you have never tried that one over there. And I was like, ah, I see what I'm about to do. I'm suffering. I'm bored as hell. I'm not a drinker, and I sure as hell don't want to be a non-drinker with 15 people drink around me. It's like, and so I go, I'm done. Love you guys. Going to bed. And it was so hard for me to do, but I knew I needed to go over that. And I said, going to bed. Went to bed, stopped pain. And the next morning, because I went to bed at 10 while everyone else drank until who knows what time, I woke up at about 6, and I took almost a 2-mile hike around this guy's, neighborhood, and I had a coffee with croissant, and I sat in the sun, and I had tons of lollipops and very little suffering and no pain whatsoever. I haven't had it since. So the role is to start understanding, start having your hypotheses, play with them, and each time you get through the program faster and faster and faster and faster until the program is like 2 minutes long. And now I don't think I will do that to myself anymore. Is it worth it? Yeah, maybe it took me 8 months to figure that one out. Is that worth it? I think so. The body's
So
trying to protect me. Yes, Wanda?
in that situation, so like I can understand what you're saying because there's times where we're supposed to do something, my husband wants to do something. I don't want to do it, but I agree to do it because it's important that we do things together. And then my symptoms get worse.
There you
So
go.
you're saying I should not go and do these things with him.
Counter offer. Do you know what that means?
Well, yeah, but I'm just trying to think, like, if it's a fundraising event or if it's something with, like what you said, with the family.
Yeah.
So, yeah, same thing. So
Yeah, I don't want
it's
to
a
do
big
that. I'd
family
rather do
dinner.
something else. Yes, let's do something else
How,
together. That's
but
not
how do
called.
I say that I don't want to do the family dinner with his family, or I don't want to go to the function? We don't have that many functions that we go to together, so it's kind of an
Yeah.
important one for him, but
But is it for you?
no.
Okay. Does he do the stuff that's important for you, but he hates doing?
Um, well, I don't really have any functions that are important for me because I'm not working, and so I don't have that social life where, we would go out to dinner with a group or something
Mhm.
like that, right? So
But do
it's
you
more,
love that? Is that what you love doing? Do you
I
love
do love
going in groups or
I
not
do
really?
love, yeah, no, well, having friends over or going to their house. Yeah, I do like that.
Perfect. So does he like that?
Yeah, he does.
Okay. Do something like that. Do a win-win, not a win-lose. I don't think you would force him, or maybe you might, some of us do, sometimes I do. You would force him to constantly do something you know he hates and you know his body actually reacts to it. I don't think you'd do that. So
Mm,
don't do that for yourself.
right.
Find a counter offer. Hey, rather than going with your whole family, or let's just do 1 hour with your family and then let's go do this other thing that's right next to it and let's do a lot of lollipops and just very little suffering.
So we're not saying no to the lollipops, but we're putting some parameters around the lollipops.
And around the suffering. All
Okay.
lollipops you want. You don't even have to suffer. Bodies has no problem with lollipop. Well, having fun. Joy is great. Yeah. And there you go. You just realize, oh, my body's reacting to doing something I don't want to do, but of course, it's socially accepted to do this thing. And your body's like, mm-mm, you hate this. You hate this. And the
Well, it's
reason
not even that I
why,
hate it. It's not that I hate it. I hate it now because it's so hard.
yeah.
But I,
So
but
you hate it now.
the
Yes.
social piece I love. Like,
Yes.
I would love to go do these functions with him if it was just easier, but it's just so fucking hard now.
Yeah. So don't do it now. And
Okay.
the thing is, the reason why your body's probably reacting to these functions is because they have a similar flavor to what you were forcing yourself to do before your symptoms started. It has to be similar. Does that make sense? Um, okay, so
Yeah.
one of my clients has issues with bladder. We realized that his bladder issue came on during a period in his life where his business was kind of going down under, and there was a lot of meetings where he had to fire people, and they weren't taking it very well. A lot of boundary stuff, right? A lot of territory and boundary when it comes to bladder. And so he had these long, grueling meetings with people, just hours of it, and really not getting anywhere. Today, when anyone impinges on his time, anyone, he starts having his bladder, right? Because his body is going, is this going to turn out to be like those grueling meetings where I got nowhere? Now it's like this body is sensitized because it doesn't want to get you into that full situation. So it's going to stop you much earlier. And so you need to tell the body this isn't that situation at all. Look, I actually like it, or don't, don't force yourself to do something you really don't want to do. Listen, be honest with yourself. I am not a 28 people, 14 kid kind of girl, right? I'm a 4 people, perfect. 12, problem. 28, big problem. So I'll do one and we'll take 2 cars so I can leave earlier. That's okay. Then I'll meet with people one-on-one and have coffees and we're all good. Because that's what I can do and that's what I like doing. Yeah.
So I have a question.
Yes.
So very similar to Wanda's comment. There will
Mhm.
be times where I will say, no, I'm not going to go to the event. I set my boundary. So then my husband will throw back at me, well, if you're not going, I'm not going. And then it'll be like in a situation where he and the kids will go to a family event and I really want my kids to go, but I don't feel like going and my kids want to go. And he will just be just really, hard about it and say, no, we're not going to go. So then I'm here at home feeling guilty because now he's not attending and my children are not attending. And then families asking, well, why didn't you guys come? And then my husband's like, well, oh, well, Angelica didn't feel well.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah,
always like
it's your
that.
fault.
Yes, yes. And it's very frustrating.
Are your symptoms affected by it
Sometimes they
or
are.
only your mind? When you finally
Sometimes,
say no and you just feel guilty, not when you go, when you
yeah.
actually stay home, but you feel guilty about your kids, do you actually have bad symptoms or not? Or it just feels really bad?
I feel guilty. I get emotional. And usually when the emotional stuff starts, then I start getting headaches.
Okay. The headache is trying to solve something that's unsolvable. It is right then.
Hmm.
But your formally diagnosed, symptoms aren't getting triggered in this
Hmm.
case, right?
Yes.
So it's like, man, it
Well,
sucks to feel
actually,
guilty.
headaches were my first symptom.
You were trying to solve something that was unsolvable. Try to see if you can find it. What is that unsolvable situation? That's an unsolvable situation. You're either going to feel guilty as hell,
Hmm.
or you're going to do something you don't want to do, and you're going to push yourself, and then you're going to feel like shit physically. So
Yes.
that's an unsolvable situation. You get to decide, right? Guilt or misery? Misery. Maybe
Okay.
another solution is, yeah, doing something at home, bringing people to your house, doing something a little more your way rather than adapting to other people. As I said, this one is, yeah, we have to work
Yeah.
these things, right? It's like, how do we find a balance?
And I think the hard thing is because I put a boundary down with my family, because usually I was always the person hosting and having everybody, I'm the people pleaser, making all the food, doing everything. So I
Yes.
finally put the boundary down that I'm not hosting anymore. I'm not going to, you know, only when I decide to. Because before
Mhm.
they wanted me to do Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's Eve, everything. So this past year I said, no, I'm not doing it. If somebody else wants to host, do it. But and then so now everybody makes it more of a point like, oh, well, she doesn't want everybody at her house. So now nobody comes to visit me.
So make individual invitations. Do it your way,
Yeah.
the way that feels good, that has much more lollipops and much less suffering.
Yes. Thank you.
If you go to an event, it's like I'm taking a second car or I'm Ubering back, right? And then you don't feel stuck. You won't be
Yes.
pushing.
And it does feel good to say no and stick to it.
Yes. Yeah. A lot of people actually really enjoyed COVID because it was actually, you didn't have to have an excuse to not go to the family dinners. It's like, oh, sorry, COVID. You know, all of a sudden, family dinners are like 4 people. And I was like, oh my God, I love this Thanksgiving. This is my favorite Thanksgiving. There's only 4 of us here, you know. So more of
Mhm.
that, please, without the, virus and the fear and all that good stuff. All right, next week we're going to look at conditioning. It's like, why do you respond? Why do you often feel stuck, right? Why do you people please? That then gets you into these things, right? And we'll talk about mine. Why do I suffer and then compensate with a lollipop? Not only was I raised there, I actually had a really big issue as a kid that was compensated. And I learned how to turn off my feelings until my body said, we're done. Okay. Lollipops, chupa chus. You lick them, you suck them. Okay. So see you guys next week. And we'll start looking at conditioning and we'll practice a few more of these. Okay. So look at those, get yourself familiar with those 4 conflicts and the different phases. And we'll do a few more of these. Maybe I can I'll put them on the conversation, some of the ones we haven't done, so that then we can see what you guys figured out could happen
Oh,
and when.
yes, let me just put the link in the chat so you guys can, you know where the chat is that Eva is talking about. The link to the community if you are not a
Yeah.
member yet.
So this workshop we're doing between Beating My MS community and the Healing MS community. So
Yes.
I want to thank Rota for hosting and bringing people
Thank you
in.
so much. You're just making it everything like almost like crystal crystal clear in my life. And
I'm hoping. It does take a while to figure out your flavor, but once you do, it just becomes a game. And it's like, I need more lollipops. Okay, I can figure this one out.
yes, thank you so much.
All
And thank
right.
you everybody
You
for
See you
all.
listening.
all next week.
Have a good weekend. Bye.
Bye bye.